Everyone going, Cody back again doing yet another video. Right, someone's asked me to do one on like bail apps and judging chambers, so as always I'm happy to do a video. Right, so if you go to prison, right, how it works, right, is if you get charged by the police, so you've been to the police station, you've been arrested, or you've been on bail and then you go back to the police station, the police are going to charge you, right? What will happen is the police will either give you bail or they'll refuse you bail. If you've already been out on bail, right, they'll probably just re-give you bail, conditional or unconditional. I was arrested once, refused police bail. I've gone over it in previous videos. I'm not going to go over it again. I was arrested on witness intimidation. The police denied me bail. And then I had to go to court to get bail. So it's called a bail app, right? So there was a bail application. I was there. I was taken in a prison van to Trafford Magistrates, and I went up before the judge. The CPS, which is the police's solicitor, if you will, they said their argument. My solicitor did my argument. I was given bail, but the CPS appeal. If the CPS appeal, that means that you go to prison for 48 hours right off the bat, right? You get 2 bail applications, and you can only get any further bail applications. So obviously, I've gone to court, the judges give me bail, but the CPS have appealed, so it's like a rejection, right? So I've only got one more, right? So a few days later, I was in prison, and there's a thing called a judge in chambers. That's where there's no like court sitting or anything. It's just the barrister, the judge, sits in his chambers in the back of the court, and he looks at the evidence and the reasons why, and the evidence against me, which there was none, and then he chooses whether to keep me in prison or to give me bail. It's called a bail app, right? Or that's in that circumstance, it's called a judge in chambers. I wasn't present or anything. I was sat in Strangeways. Like I say, he rejected. He refused me bail. So that was it, right? I think it's 2 or 3 strikes. I can't actually remember off the top of my head. I think I got 2. I think everyone gets the same amount. And then you can only apply for bail again if there is a change in circumstances. Now, I went up on a preliminary hearing via video link, right, from Strangeways. A video link is where you sit in a room at the prison. Your face is beamed into a courtroom. You can hear and see everything, and it's to save money in short term because of all the cutbacks and stuff. It's the prison, the Ministry of Justice saving money by not taking you to prison, but by taking you to court even. I'll get there in the end, right? So yeah, so that was that. That was a preliminary hearing, right? And then at the preliminary hearing, they changed the charge. They amended the charge, right? That means they changed it. They downgraded the charge from witness intimidation to attempted witness intimidation. Now that was only a slight change, but my solicitor came up to see me a few days later, and I said to him, I said, listen, you get me a fucking bail app, you hear me? That's me wanting to apply for bail, in other words, to get me out of prison. Bail, when you're in prison, means to get you out of prison. And he said, well, wouldn't you want to wait for a bigger break in the case? I said, if you were sat here in my fucking shoes, right, would you want to wait until there was a bigger change in circumstances? I said, there's a change in circumstances that warrants a fucking bail app, yeah, man. I went up on that. I was knocked back. Then there was another, I can't remember, there was another change. There was another change in circumstances somewhere along the line. And I went up again on a bail app, right? There was no evidence against me, guys, at all, literally. Just some fucking police informer saying that I rang them and threatened them with no evidence, right? That's like me saying that if one of you guys comment and I've got your name and I ring the police and say you threatened me, right, with no evidence, you just went to prison. The fact is, I was tied in with a very well-known gangster, and the police wanted me off the streets, right? They've been after me for years, and this was they got me, but they hadn't got me when you go to prison, there's a thing called holding charges. These were holding charges, right? So it was frustrating for me. I was thinking, what the fuck, man? How am I in prison with no evidence? Yeah, man. This was a few years ago, right? It was my first actual time in prison, yeah, man. Fuck me. If it's not people cutting grass, it's the fucking ice cream van. Fuck me. Right, so yeah, eventually I got up on another bail application. My Cody's sister, right, and me, for those that don't know, Cody's your co-defendant, someone that's got charges, that's on charges with you, right? It's called Cody, right, in prison, right? I went up on another bail app, right, that morning, and then they was coming up in the afternoon on a visit. So they come up on the afternoon on a visit. The visit was about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I've come on the visit, right, and I wasn't like, I didn't, because because I kept getting knocked back on these bail apps and everything like that. I thought, there's no end in sight for me, I'm not going to get out. So I'm sat there and they said, fucking hell, we've been waiting all morning at the court, like outside the court, like outside the courtroom. And it's still ongoing, so there's no answer yet. I was like, fucking hell. So I've popped it down again, yeah, because I was for like little like glimmer of, was hoping to get out, but weren't expecting to. And then after about 5 minutes, the fucker said, right, that I can't do it anymore. You've got bail. I was like, get in, buzzing. So I had to go, the visit finished, I had to go back to my wing. I saw one of the SOs, right? SO's a senior officer. And then I said to him, I've got bail. He rang up custody in the prison and said, has he got bail? He said, yeah. He said, right, go back to your pad, pack all your stuff, and that's it, you're going home. So that was it. So I went back to my pad. I got all my stuff. The kid that I was padded up with, who was a lifer, who killed his dad with an hammer, top lad. That morning, I just got a £47.50 canteen. Right, I give him my canteen. Yeah, I was buzzing. Give him all a big hug and that, and like went flap to flap, door to door, saying bye to some of the lads. And that was me. I got out shortly after I got out. The police, I applied for an acquittal with no case to answer. That's where there's no evidence against you, and you want your solicitors, your barrister, to apply to the court to have the charges quashed and kicked out before trial, because there's no evidence against you, or the evidence is very vague and weak. And it happened, and it was quashed, and that was it. And yeah, so that was the end of that matter. So what, in layman's terms, what a bail application is. A bail application, like I say, it can start as soon as, if you get remanded by the police, if the police refuse you bail and you go to court, that's your first application. 2 to 3 days later, you'll have another bail application, right? You won't be present at any of these, right? But you'll have another bail application, right? If that one gets, if you're not released on your second bail app, then you've got to wait for a change in circumstance. That could be an amendment in the charges, or some new evidence comes to light. Then you could get bail. But you've got 2 strikes, right? If you don't get out on the 2 strikes, then like I say, you've got to wait for a change in circumstance and any further change in circumstances. I had 4 bail apps, guys. I got out on my 4th one, right? A judge, because all I needed was a decent judge, right, to look at it on its merit. And a judge looked and said, look, there's no evidence against this kid. Why the fuck is he in prison, right? And he cut me loose. And like I say, as soon as they cut me loose, right, the CPS then said, oh, because I was out then, they just wanted me off the streets to keep the integrity of the case, because they thought that I was going to intimidate these police informers, right, which wasn't the case, right? And I still ended up in prison just because someone said it was me. With no corroborating evidence. The phone box that the phone was apparently used, the call was made from, was forensically and DNA swabbed and checked and searched and like checked for evidence, right? Nothing came back to me, and I still ended up in prison, right? Like I say, that's called a holding charge. But yeah, a judge in chambers just means, like, I think the CPS go and the barrister and your barrister go sit in the chambers of the court, at the back of the court with the judge, and your solicitor will say why you should be released, and the CPS say why you should stay in prison. That's what that is. And then, like I say, if you get bail, if that judge denies you bail, then nothing changes. You stay in prison. If you get bail, then the clerks of the court will ring the custody at the prison and say, your man, blah, 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 has been given bail. they'll process it, and then you'll get out that day. They can, for those that don't know, they can allow you out until about, I think it's 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. That's the latest. You're not going to get out at that time, but that's the latest you'll get out. I got out within the hour. They rushed me through. I threw all my stuff into 2 prison hold doors, and that was it. I got my property back from reception, and bam, I was out at that time. You used to leave Forest Bank via the gate, because I got security moved to Forest Bank. Went out the gate. Now you go out, when you leave Forest Bank, you go out of reception. But like I say, a bail application is where you're in prison and your solicitor's got to apply for bail for you. You only get 2 strikes though. Once when you initially get remanded, right? That's like when the police refuse your bail. That's your first, and then another one at 2 or 3 days later. If the police want you off the streets, the police can have you off the streets. It depends what your charges are. But again, there was no evidence against me, and I still ended up in prison. So that was that. It took me ages to get out with 4 bail apps. Like I say, it took time for each bail app to go through. I got 2 within a few days, and then I didn't get any for months, right? And that was that. So yeah, a judging chambers is where a judge sits in his chambers at the back of the court with your barrister, with the CPS. They look at the evidence, and they both have arguments, 1 for, 1 against, right? And then, like I said, you get released if the judge gives you bail and stuff. And that was it, guys. That was it. I got released and stuff. So I hope that covers bail applications and judging chambers. What a judging chambers is. When there's a judging chambers happening, your friends and family can't go into the court and stuff. They can sit outside the court, and then, like I say, my barrister walked out of that courtroom, having been in the chambers, and just said, "He's fucking got it," and that was it. But the police actually turned up, right? GMP, Greater Manchester Police, they turned up, right? And they was outside the courtroom as well. And when my barrister walked out and said he's got bail, right? My Cody's sister, her husband, and my ex-girlfriend that I was with at the time were like, yes. And the cop said, "No, he's never got bail." And he said, "Yeah, now fucking leave him alone." And that's what my Cody's brother-in-law said to the police and stuff. And like I say, that was me. I was out, but that's how corrupt the police are, guys, where they can put you in prison with no evidence. I know it sounds crazy and stuff. For those that have never been in trouble, you probably struggle to get your head around it. For those that have been in trouble, you know the script, you know the score. Like I say, I do these videos aimed at people that have never been in prison. Anyway, guys, hope this covers bail applications and judging chambers. As always, like, comment, subscribe, get me on Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.